Hi, everyone. I'm a little early here. I'm just a minute or two early. I just want to make sure everything is up and working and that you can hear me and make sure the lighting is working and all that. I think if you were just on a second ago when I was setting up, um, you can see in the background I've commandeered my daughter's bedroom for my studio today. We've been hosting Thanksgiving, so every room is filled. And so I had to kick her out and she let me use her room. So I'm grateful for that. Thank you, Mimi. And we have, all right, I think we're ready to go. Welcome parents and young parents. And by that I mean anyone younger than me, because I know that includes a lot of people. But, I wanted to start off by saying something about this format with the whole Facebook Live thing. It's kind of just me sitting here talking to you and sharing my thoughts. But really what we're really about and what I'm about and what I care about is young people. And as parents, I know today you can just Google something and find the answer. It's so much easier to find resources than it was in my day. And so I want you to know that even though I'm sitting here giving information, that we want you to reach out to us as a support system. Reach out to us with questions or challenges. If it's not something you want to put out there for the public to see, you can email us or private message us. But that's why we're here, is to support you. We love you. We want you to be successful. So I'm going to put that out there before I start, yapping away, and just food for thought. All right, so I should introduce myself. I'm Stacy Erickson, and I'm the founder of a manners and etiquette company called Golly Jeepers. And I'm an award-winning author of books and games that focus on teaching children manners. So over the last 10 years, I've written articles on the subject. I've been in parenting magazines. I've been a guest speaker, writer on podcasts and blogs, and a national radio program. And then just this last year, I collaborated with the fabulous Monica Urban of the Etiquette Factory. And she's really been on the scene for a while, and so you might have heard of the Etiquette Factory and Monica, and if you have, you know how fabulous she is. Anyway, so we came together to create our own sub-company called Fundamentals for Kids, because we wanted to create a monthly manners subscription box where children could focus on learning just one skill per month. And this is really geared at our younger children, maybe like 4 all the way up to 10, but maybe even a little give on the early side, maybe 3 for some children. But we're so excited. We've spent months and months putting together amazing fun games and videos, stories, activities, challenges, crafts, and more. So really, no matter what your child's learning style is, there is going to be something in every box for every kind of learner. We are launching February 1st, so we're hoping that over the next 9 weeks, Monica and I are going to take turns during these Facebook Lives, and we're hoping that you'll get to know us a little bit more, what we're about, how we can be of service to you. And we're going to be posting articles, and we want to give you some good content before we even get to that point of launching our subscription box. All right, so today we are talking about prioritizing teaching manners. So here's the truth. If you want your children to learn good manners, you're going to have to make it a priority in your home. And that means being proactive in teaching manners. Oh, geez, I can hear you saying it already. Here we go. Another thing I have to cram into my already busy schedule. Wait, don't go. I have good news too. I am going to show you how you can incorporate teaching manners into your busy lives without adding to your already overflowing to-do list. I think most parents want to teach their children good manners. But what I hear a lot is how hard it is to do. Families are super busy. We don't necessarily sit down to eat together very often. And a lot of times young parents don't even know how to go about teaching manners. So what often happens is we wait for our children to show up with bad manners, and then we try and correct them. Well, that's kind of winging it, right? I know, I've been there. But what happens with this method is that children focus on the correction, or rather the criticism, as they see it. They don't see the underlying purpose for having good manners. And so they're associating it with a negative feeling instead of a positive feeling. And what we want to do is we want our children to associate good manners with feeling good about themselves. So, what's the solution? Well, first, I think we have to ask ourselves, do I even know what my parenting priorities are? You might have a vague idea of what they are, but could you list them? So here's a super helpful exercise. Take out a piece of paper, draw a line down the center, and then on one side, write down your 5 top parenting priorities. And then on the other side, you're going to write down maybe 10 actions that take up the majority of your day. Then you're going to take a pen or a pencil and you're going to draw a line from each activity to a priority. Now, if you have some priorities that have few or no actions going to them, then that's a big heads up, right? If you have time expenditures that really have no top priority to go to, well, then you've identified some things that maybe you can cut back on or maybe not do altogether. So once you've identified your parenting priorities, you're going to be able to see how you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone, or maybe even more. So let me give you an example. You want to teach your children good manners, but you don't think you have the time. So let's say we look at your top 3 parenting priorities. And 1 is genuinely connecting with your children. 2 is having quality family time. And 3 is raising children with good manners. I'm going to tell you, you can actually meet the first 2 of these goals and teach the 3rd all at the same time without adding to your to-do list. Well, what would that look like, you might ask? I'm going to tell you. So I'm going to assume that you read your child a nighttime bed story. So maybe once or twice a week, you're going to choose a story and focus on a manners skill. Now, you don't have to have a book specifically about manners to do this, although, that certainly helps. But, most children's books have opportunities for you to pull things out regarding, meeting new people or sharing or being a good guest. So this is what you do. So you would choose a topic. Maybe you're focusing on sharing or something, and you're going to read the story to your child. And then afterwards, you would say something like, honey, if Emily was a real person, do you think you'd want to be her friend? And then whatever the answer is, well, why is that? Or if you're working on, being a good guest. I noticed in the picture that Caleb was bringing flowers to his grandma's house when he went to visit. How do you think that made her feel? So children love to share their ideas and opinions, And when you listen and share your own thoughts back, you're going to be genuinely connecting with your child, and you just had a mini manners lesson. All right, so that was genuinely connecting with your children. What about having quality family time? All right, so that's a top priority for most families, I would imagine. But we can find that difficult today because we are busy. But if you think about it, we're talking about kids between the ages of 4 and 10, as I mentioned. And really, if you're to play a game, a card game or a board game, etc., it's only going to take about 20 minutes because that's about their attention span, right? So if you're trying to fit in a family time and a manners lesson, try playing a game that you can incorporate good manners into. All right, now hold on. Whoa, back up here. I am not saying lecture your children throughout a game about good manners. That would not be fun for anyone. I wouldn't even announce, today we're playing sorry because you kids need to practice apologizing. But, maybe you say something like, hey, let's play sorry and let's see who can give the most dramatic apology whenever we have to send somebody back home. And that might look like, I don't know, oh, my dearest sister, I'm so sorry to have landed on your spot. And although it pains me, you'll have to go back home. I mean, it doesn't have to be like that, but you can come up with your own ideas that match your family's personality. And then boom, you've had family time together and you've practiced apologizing. So, we have to remember that good manners are not just about feelings. They require skills, and those need to be practiced. So when we're talking about being sorry, for example, it's one thing to feel sorry, but it's another thing to be able to apologize, right? So, all right, so on to number 3 of those top 5 priorities we mentioned was raising children with good manners. So what are we going to do here? Oh, wait, nothing much to do here. We just addressed it while we were addressing the other 2 top priorities. So this is kind of what I'm trying to show you, is how by identifying your parenting priorities and identifying the actions that support those priorities, that you can see that your time is going to be much more purposeful. And gosh, it really does feel amazing when you realize, oh, I didn't just mindlessly spend time with my kids and then I moved on to the next thing. But oh my gosh, I realized that the time I spent reflected my parenting priorities. So, by the way, this is also a great exercise to do with your children as well. I know my son hates cleaning out the cat's litter box. Who doesn't? There was that one friend in 2nd grade who used to love to clean out our cat's litter box, but needless to say, she's not here anymore. But so if you can have your child do the priority exercise, and on one side, he would write down one of his priorities would be taking good care of his pet or being a good pet owner. And then on the other side, you'd have him write down, well, what are the actions that you would do that would make you be a good pet owner? And then, of course, one of them is going to be emptying, cleaning out the litter box. So then you have him draw a line from that action to the priority, and he can see how doing this job is going to support his idea of himself as a good pet owner. Well, I wanted to say something more about that. I forget what it was. Well, anyway, so back to you as a parent. Parenting is difficult. We're tired. We're overwhelmed. There's so many options out there for us to participate in. And I know there's this, now it's an acronym, but FOMA, fear of missing out. We think our other parents are involved in this and our other kids are involved in that. But I would just say, whenever you're feeling overwhelmed, go back to that list of priorities and see which activities line up. Okay, so now I can hear you thinking, I'm not really the creative sort. How am I going to come up with ideas to insert into my storybooks and games all the time? Maybe that's not your thing, right? Well, that's why we're here. We've got your back. We tend to think of children's manners in terms of how they affect other people. But research shows, and I know I always come back to research, but it really does, it shows that having good manners has a huge impact on the quality of our children's personal relationships. So imagine how learning to disagree respectfully when you're very young, imagine how that can impact your child's relationships throughout his life or her life. Imagine how learning to introduce yourself confidently to others, how that can make making friends so much easier. Imagine your child knowing how to accept the word no politely. Of course, all these skills are going to carry over into their adult lives. I mean, honestly, if I think of the stumbles that I've had over the years, either in personal relationships or just not feeling comfortable in certain situations, I could probably trace it back to not having learned early on certain skills and having had the opportunity to practice them. Sometimes we learn through failure, right? So that's that's really what we're trying to do here, is give our children these skills early on so that they can practice them. So when they go out into the world, we don't have to shout after them, remember your good manners, because it's already going to be part of who they are. And it becomes habit, and it just becomes second nature. All right, so what I'd like to do, I get the same questions a lot over and over. So I'm going to go through about 3 of those and just kind of share with you. It might be something that's been on your mind. And I'm going to tell you those questions, what I typically tell people in response. First one I get is, listen, I work full-time. How do I fit it in all at the end of the day? I want to be a good parent, but I come home and I've got all these things that I want to do. Well, first off, I would say that providing for your child, of course, is a top priority, and it does take a lot of time. But listen, you do not have to do everything every day. I remember when I was first working outside the home and my daughter was in daycare. And I'd come home, by the time I got home, it would be, later, maybe 6 o'clock at night. And I'd feel like, oh gosh, I want to play with her. I want to cuddle her. I want to teach her. Sometimes I needed to discipline her. And then of course I wanted to feed her a healthy meal and have us sit down together, and there was bath and bedtime and stories. And I was trying so hard to schedule it all in. But some days we'd come home and she'd just have a meltdown. And I would just end up dealing with that for the majority of the evening. When children are tired, upset, or hungry, this is not the time to try and teach a manners lesson, or any lesson for that matter. I mean, the main thing is you guys are great. You're wonderful parents. You're a wonderful generation. I see the love that you have, give yourselves a break. Be there emotionally for your children. If they've had a hard day, let them unwind. Put all the lessons on hold. And, once everybody's kind of settled in, you might be able to sneak something in with a bedtime story. But, I have to say a word for this up and coming generation, because I don't think you guys get enough credit. I think you guys are amazing. I mean, I love the way couples these days are sharing the responsibilities of parenting so much more than in my generation. And this makes it so much easier on working moms. But I would just encourage you to do the prioritizing exercise. And then you can divvy up the actions that support your shared values. And I know sometimes it's hard, and when we are stressed and struggled, we tend to kind of take it out on those closest to us. But be kind to each other and to yourself. Okay, another question I get is, Stacy, honestly, our lives are so busy that my husband and I, we are rarely doing things all together. We're usually tag teaming. And to be honest, table manners is not really on the top of his list. All right. Of course, it would be ideal if we were always all on the same page at the same time. But in reality, that's not going to happen, right? So I would just say if tag teaming works for you and doesn't cause too much disconnectedness, then work it to your advantage. There is likely something on your husband's parenting priority list that's not on yours. For example, maybe he really believes in learning about teamwork through sports. And maybe you're really focused on wanting your children to have great table manners. You guys can agree to take the lead for whatever your cause is. The main thing, again, is to identify what your priorities are so you can feel good about how you spend your time and less stressed about what you should be doing. All right, here's another one, and I kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but Stacy, I have been trying to teach my children manners, but I feel like I'm just wasting time. I correct them, and they just go back to what they were doing before. Okay, I did say this before. Rather than correcting behavior after it's occurred, it's much more effective if you have a plan ahead of time. And, as I mentioned before, it's so much easier to teach manners when children feel good about themselves rather than when they feel criticized. Make it fun, connect with your children, celebrate their progress along the way, and I know you are going to be effective. As parents, I know we all want to turn out well-mannered children, responsible kids, children with integrity. And I can guarantee you're going to find that all these goals are so much easier to achieve once you've identified what the priority is and identified the actions that support those priorities. And then once you do that, you're going to see that you can pretty seamlessly pull those actions into other parts of your life. Now, if you think you could use some help, that's what we're all about. I would encourage you to go on over to fundamentalsforkids.com, and that's fundamentals 4, the number 4, and get an early bird coupon. We're not launching until February 1st. It's only going to be up there for a certain amount of time. But if you think you might be able to use some help in that area, go ahead and grab that coupon. I just want to tell you, these boxes are so darn cute. We're really excited about them, and I know you're going to love them, and I know your children are going to love them. And just think, 6 months from now, your children will have learned 6 new manners or etiquette skills that they completely understand, have practiced, and can put into real life use. That's pretty major, but it's totally doable. So thanks for joining me. I think I've pretty much taken up enough of your time this day after Thanksgiving. You probably want to go shopping or something. Next week, Monica is going to be here, and she is going to be talking about why we should teach our children things that the rest of the world might not seem to value. And she always has such great insight. Thanks so much, guys. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.